it's so good to see your smiling faces out there. Quick show of hands, who remembers the inter-office mail? Anyway. All right, so for those of you who didn't raise your hand or just are too afraid to admit it, inter-office mail was an envelope that looked like this. And if somebody in the delivery unit wanted to send something to underwriting, they would put their name to the recipient on this envelope, and a courier within the office or organization would run this envelope up to said underwriter, and the underwriter would open it and pull out the contents and sign for it. So this, by design, was a first-generation portal by definition, a gateway to transfer information from one destination to the other. We're definitely glad that portals have evolved, and we have a very, very equipped panel up here to talk about the evolution of portals, the good, bad, the ugly, where they're going, where they've been, and everything in between. So I'm Zenobia Hastie, and I am with ReSource ProTech Services. My role here is to oversee underwriting and data reporting services within the tech division. So I'll turn it over to the panel for their introductions.
Hi, good morning. My name is Sarah Perry. I am the Senior Vice President of Direct Underwriting at Trean Insurance Group. If you haven't heard of Trean before, you may have heard of Benchmark Insurance Company. Basically, we're an A-rated carrier. We have a program side of the house where we're working directly with MGAs, and then we have our direct side of the house where we're working directly with independent agents. My role is to oversee our internal underwriting operations naturally. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
I'm Beth Long with Waypoint Mutual. We're a monoline workers' compensation carrier based in Kansas City, primarily focused on the Midwest. Our focus, not only in the Midwest, but also in commercial construction and manufacturing accounts. So definitely the blue-collar workforce. For Waypoint, I'm the COO and Director of Claims, which is what brings me today, overseeing the IT department and the claims department.
Hi, I'm Emily Cameron. I'm Head of Product and Customer Success at Crosstie, formerly Gain Life. We just rebranded in February. But we are an Insurtech company that builds claim portals. And so I've spent the past 5.5 years building claim portals, working with clients to implement them and execute them. So excited to be here.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Alex Perry. I'm a principal consultant with ReSource Pro. I came to ReSource Pro via acquisition of Propellant last year in July. Background's claims, licensed adjuster for many years, worked the desk. Also moved my way up to claims operation manager. Ultimately was director of claims for a mid-sized carrier in the Southeast. But in addition to that, I also worked on the tech side. So I was with Insurtech for a period of time. Was a claim product owner for their product Comp Express. Worked in implementation there and also sales solutions. So thanks for joining us today, everyone. So we're going to talk portals, right? And when we think of portals today, we think of them as really basic self-service, right? We're checking status of a claim, we're uploading a document, maybe we're making a payment. But there's a shift, right, to capture our theme, where things are kind of becoming the digital front door. It's the first impression for what your clients see, right? So whether that be employers, agents, policyholders, even internal staff, they want a single connected experience, right? They're not looking for fragmentation. They need everything collected together in a seamless experience. So we're bringing this great panel today because we want to talk through that. We're going to talk through the customer experience with real-world examples, operational efficiency, and decision-making through better data. So I'll go ahead and kick that off. And Sarah, I'd like to propose the first question to you. What role does the portal play in your organization today?
Oh, okay. So today, our portal really primarily serves as an access point for our policyholders to pay their premium. We don't really have a full experience for our agencies or our policyholders, but now we've recently partnered with a company called MIS, maybe you've heard of them, and we're building that out to really elevate the entire experience for our policyholders and our agency partners.
Hey, Beth, how's it affecting you?
For us, we wanted a real-time portal scenario for our injured workers to speak with our adjusters. So we needed to improve responsiveness and meet them on a platform that they could utilize easily.
Okay. Emily, what's your perspective?
Yeah, so I mean, we obviously built one, so it's a core solution of ours. But from our perspective, it is just another facet and interface that you can have with the people that you're working with. And so, from my perspective, the goal of portals and technology in general is to be able to replace certain aspects to enable more meaningful interaction. And so everything that we focus on is how can we enable more meaningful interaction, and if it's something that's simple, it can be shared electronically, where can we automate that?
Okay. Thanks.
And Sarah, you talked a little bit earlier about silo systems. Can you walk us through how portals have helped you navigate through those siloed systems?
Yeah, so one piece that we had that was missing for us was the middleware. So we have quite a few different systems that we're using, claims, policy, billing, but really we're utilizing a middleware to consolidate and bring all of that data into a singular platform and be able to open that up to our existing customers.
Very good. And Beth, from your vantage point, can you tell us how your portal acts as kind of that system of engagement?
So it facilitates real-time connection with the injured worker. So our injured workforce is typically out in the field or at home recovering, but everyone has a cell phone today. It's a very easy platform. People use portals in their regular life without really knowing that they're using a portal. So we wanted to deliver something that was easy to use that they would keep going back to. And we thought that if it was an easy experience in the beginning, they would continue to utilize it. So we knew that providing fresh and live data in there was going to be key to get someone to go back. If we had stale information that was 2 to 3 weeks old, you're just picking up the phone to call your adjuster instead. So the dynamic portal that we use with Gain Life really enables our... Crosstie. I was thinking, I was just seeing if everyone was listening.
That was a test, yeah.
It was, I failed.
I almost missed it too.
Really, it's up to date throughout the day. So we find that our injured workers are engaging across the portal and not just in one area.
That's great. And then Emily, as the connector and the builder of the portal, can you walk us through a little bit about the integration challenges and things that you faced early on in the initial setups of the portal on the claims side?
Yeah, from my perspective, there's 2 major challenges. One is just the pure integration. To Beth's point, no one wants to log into another system. Even if it would save them an hour of time, if they have to leave their workflow and click 5 buttons, they're not going to do it. They're just going to do it the old way. And so it's making sure that you have that integration set up to make it as seamless as possible and integrate it into their workflow. So something that we try to do when we implement, we actually try to interview at least 3 to 5 adjusters and hear their perspective. And then when we go live, reconnecting with them, saying, what's going well, what's not going well. So that leads to the second piece, which is the adoption. And so again, there's just, I'm sure everyone has seen that technology curve where there's the early adopters and I forget the other ones, but basically, it does take a while and it takes a few different times. You can't just tell someone once and expect them to figure it out. You have to introduce it in different ways and get super users and peers to encourage it. And so, again, it's integrating into the workflow effectively and making sure you're doing that right from the start. And then it's making sure that you're following up and encouraging that adoption.
That's good stuff, yeah. So, adoption is clearly an important part of this, and I think that speaks kind of to the next section where we're talking about a simple, intuitive experience, right? Ultimately, a portal needs to combine that with complex business operations and workflows. Sarah, I'm curious, where have you seen the biggest customer-facing wins from your portal?
So again, our current portal is not as comprehensive as we'd like it to be, but I spent about 7 years on the MGA side, so I did get to use basically every carrier portal out there, agency-facing carrier portal out there. And really the best ones, from my opinion, are the simple ones, right? Where you can log in, you can complete a task, and you can move on with your day. I really think that at that point, if it's easier, it's ease of use. Ease of use is what's going to get you through.
And Beth, if we kind of shift to the internal efficiency mindset, where have you seen efficiency gains in your portal?
One of the things that we're so excited about is voicemail for our adjusters is pretty much history. So no one leaves voicemails in their regular life. So the idea that you would call an insurance company and leave a voicemail and just know that someone was going to promptly call you back is not really living in 2026. So our portal has a texting feature. It also has several different areas where people can just obtain the information that they're seeking up front. So adjusters not messing with voicemails during the day makes them more efficient, and personally, I found happier people.
Yeah, so I guess it was that lower call volume reduced the rework piece, I guess, as well, and
right?
speed up the process.
Yeah,
right?
People just want quick answers. So those phone calls take a long time, right? You got to do the introduction. You got to figure them out. If they can go directly to a portal, they're just getting the answer. What is my TTD check? When is my next appointment? What am I going to get paid for? Can I turn in this mileage? And it's all right there at a couple of clicks.
That's great. So Emily, with your software hat on, how do you guys manage the tension between simplicity and those complex processes?
Yeah, it's interesting. Again, being at this for 5.5 years, it's interesting. Insurance is so risk adverse. You could go to someone and say, this solution will save you 5 hours a week. It will make the people happier. It'll make the experience better. And people will still be like, I don't know, like we do it this way, and I don't want to ruffle any feathers. And so I think, and then another piece is if it's too complex, again, if you have to go to another system and click 5 buttons, people won't do it. Mm-hmm. And so it is a very delicate balance of making it really simple to use, but you need to put in enough context so that they trust it. And so a lot of times technology can be a black box. And so making sure that people know where the information's coming from, understand the rule set behind, if you are automating something, trusting that it's automating it correctly into your workflow. And so, yeah, if there's making it simple to use and simple front end, but then adding capabilities for them to dig in and make sure and validate that it's doing it correctly, I guess.
Would you agree that like adoption is more important than features? It's like you really need utilization first, I would assume, right? And then build from there?
Yeah, and that's why we would recommend like crawl, walk, run. I'm sure everyone's heard that by this point, but get a small subset of users, validate that it's working, show that use case, and then expand it from there. But yeah, if you try to make it too complex to start, either people won't use it or not understand it or not trust it. And so it's making it simple to use, but again, adding that capability for them to dig in and validate it if they are skeptical, which you should be. Again, in insurance, there are a lot of different risks there, and it's good to double check it. We encourage everything that we would output, you can validate with citations and make sure it's referencing back to a certain workflow or best practice or data point.
Good stuff.
Yeah, that's great. And so you talked a little bit about validation as it relates to the claim side. One of the most painful points is grasping the billing component. And it just seems to be a universal problem. I don't know if anybody in the audience has ever struggled with that. But Sarah, can you talk us through what do you think some of those attributes are and what things are being done to help mitigate some of those struggles?
Yeah, absolutely. So the billing process is painful no matter what. You're separating money from the person, right? You're asking them for money, so it's already an emotional experience for the policyholder themselves. But it's also, billing confusion is also one of the #1 call center reasons that people are calling in. So it's not just the IT team or the billing team that's fatigued with answering those questions. It's really the entire organization. I think that it becomes painful when your users start to mistrust the information, when they're going line by line because they found something last month that looked off. So now they're going to check every single line by line. And we all know how insurance is. It depends, on the rating algorithm, where the rounding is, and if it's going to, come out to the right decimal place. So, and then communicating that back to an insured. So that piece makes it painful for all parties involved, I think. For
Definitely.
Sure.
Yes, definitely on that communication, it's key, and then having that real-time visibility and view into what's going on. And so with that, I'll ask, how has real-time view changed the claim industry?
It's amazing. One of the things that we thought the injured worker would want on the portal is just to communicate with their adjuster. So there's a texting feature, and I was like, perfect, that fixes 90% of our problems. That's actually not where the majority of the people are going on the portal. They're going to read information about their benefits, what the state allows, why their claim could be different than their best friend's claim. They're obtaining information, they're signing documents and returning it, which in the claims process speeds everything along because we no longer require snail mail. We are getting it, they're electronically signing it, we're getting it in a matter of minutes. So we built a lot of connectivity from the portal to our core operating system, which lets the adjuster see it almost in real time. So we're able to speed things along quite nicely.
That's great. So we have the billing piece, we have the claims piece. And Emily, can you tell us a little bit about what happens when these components don't necessarily align from your vantage point?
Yeah, probably self-explanatory, but then you have one data point here and another data point here, and there's no real source of truth, which one's accurate. And then you have, one team acting on a certain set of data that another team might not have. And so there's confusion, there's gaps, there's, having to ask people multiple times for information, which makes them frustrated. And so I think it's a real challenge because people don't really know what to do. There's 3 different companies that are doing it, and, it's hard to get everyone in the same room. But I actually think we're moving towards that. In the past couple of years, I've been in meetings where a client will say, okay, these are my 5 vendors. This is the goal we have. Can you guys figure out a way to make this work more effectively? And I think that's what we need to be doing, because right now, if there's a 5-step process, if you just try to automate step 1 and then step 2 and then step 3, versus if you take a few steps back and say, okay, what's the actual goal we're trying to accomplish with this 5-step process, and maybe it can be done in 1 or 2 different types of steps, then you would just have a better outcome overall. So I definitely do think there's a world where we can get everyone in the same room. People just have to be a little bit more open-minded and open to working together and talking together. And it's really exciting. But I do envision a world where everyone can have the same set of data and be working on the same thing. We're close.
Yeah, that's actually a good segue into the next section where we're kind of talking about looking at this from a strategic standpoint, right? And with the data and analytics that are shared on the portal. Historically, I think we thought of them as transactional, like I mentioned, previously, uploading a document, checking status. But ultimately, it's wanting to have something that's that single source of truth, that centralized point and hub for all communication, and where you can kind of move forward, understand what you're seeing, and then take action upon it, right? From any user's perspective. So Sarah, I'm curious, when you think about what you surface in the portal, what metrics actually matter? I mean, are there specific things that users are really paying attention to?
Yeah, so from a business perspective, again, the users that are logging into our portal are our agents and our insureds. The metrics that really matter are the ones that they can act on immediately. I think that they want to know where they're at right in this exact moment in time, and what they need to do next. And if there's anything outstanding. I think there's kind of 3 reasons that they're going in there to transact business. Things like real-time balance, projected premium versus actual, claim statuses is huge because that's changing every moment. And with next steps, not just seeing the status change to closed for open to close, but what's actually going on. And most importantly, again, what's outstanding. So with a lot of carriers have portals that allow their customers to go straight to bind, submit through the whole entire quote process, issue the policy. But then what do you do? So like making sure that it's comprehensive enough to complete the circle.
Beth, I think you touched on this earlier. It sounds like you have some insight into what your users are paying attention to. Can you expand on that?
The analytics are really important to us, not just that we bought this pretty thing and I hear people are using it, but where are they going? Where can we make it better? Where should we actually be spending our time? So one of the things I mentioned earlier was we were shocked that so many injured workers were actually going and reading all of this documentation that we had prepared and put out there. And Emily was like, it's really important to fill this section. And I was like, sure, yeah, I mean, we won't leave it blank. And then once we saw the engagement responses on how many people were going there, we were like, we're going to beef this up. Like, we really can get some bang for our buck if we put more content out here. So that's really what we've spent quite a bit of time doing once we were live, once we got some engagement responses back, was this is a good area to beef it up. Let's make this even better and get less phone calls.
Well, it's kind of fascinating too, right? So you're under mandate to send a lot of stuff via mail.
Oh, yes.
And once you share it electronically, I guess maybe it's just the way we're conditioned. We can't put our phones down, right? And so these folks are actually utilizing the content, which is extremely important. And so that educational value and understanding of the process, in theory, should kind of grease the skids for the reduce tension and friction within the whole process, right?
Yes, and for us, the fact that the portal is multi-language capable, so they can communicate in the language that they best communicate in, and our adjusters will receive it in English, really makes it a no-brainer for a lot of people, right? There are a lot of struggles to talk on the phone when you have to wait for a translator, when you are going to do the best guess. I hope someone can talk to me later.
So keeping our kind of strategic hat on, I'd be curious, Emily, what your take is on, are portals becoming strategic assets in the industry? Are they still primarily transactional? Or you guys have a view of that?
Yeah, I hate to do this because I don't think we've said AI in this session yet. So I'm about to break the AI seal.
So we're
It might be a record for a session. But definitely, I think Portal started sharing and collecting information, purely transactional. And then over the past few years, we've moved towards automation. So it's replacing simple actions. And now the term I like to use is, or we like to use, is workflow orchestration. And so it can actually take something and do something with it and act on it and be dynamic and escalate things that need to go to the right parties. And you can do that with the AI capabilities that you have now. So it really can not just be that interface with the claimant or the policyholder, but it can help make us better and smarter and faster so that every experience you have is like your top adjuster or your top, representative. Is that me? Sorry. Excited. My bad. But can I just hold it?
Yeah.
You're keeping them alive back there.
Okay. It's mad I said AI.
Yeah. It's just going to be replaced.
But yeah, it can basically, like, you can set what principles you want, and then going back to meaningful interaction. It's funny that adjusters are scared AI is going to replace them, because it's just going to make their lives better. They're not going to have to spend half their week reading a file. They can actually do the things that are exciting and have more meaningful interaction just using the data that they get.
Yeah, I want to go back. You mentioned orchestration, right? So and I think that's a really interesting adjective. You know, I'm almost thinking maybe your title needs to be changed to maestro, right? So you guys are directing this whole process.
You said it.
Yeah. So I think too, in summary, you know, for this section, it's really about actionable data, right? You need things real time, and it's, you know, you're trying to shape behavior. Right? I mean, ultimately, you're trying to feed this at a point in time that, you know, meet the injured worker where they are, right? Meet the insured where they are in terms of the content and features, et cetera.
So we're talking about portals, good, bad, and ugly. So let's examine some of the mistakes that you've encountered. Are there any cautionary tales that you can share with our team here today?
So, yes, absolutely. So one mistake, so I've been through quite a few different policy system changes, which entails a portal shift as well. One of our vendors a few years back let us know that they were exiting the claim space. So they were putting their claim system into runoff. So we took that challenge as an opportunity to merge our policy and our claim system into a single system. Sounds great. You know, we had lots of expectations on how we would overcome these silos and our data would just be on point. What we didn't realize at the time is that the vendor was also ridiculously siloed. So they had a team over here building our policy system and a team over here building our claim system. They didn't know each other. They didn't know. If I talked to the claims people about what they were building, it was the right and the left hand were not speaking to each other. So that was an oversight on our part, not asking those types of questions, just thinking it was just common sense. However, now we're working with MIS, and we have, we're working with insurance professionals rather than just people that are behind, someone doing JavaScript behind a computer. We're people who actually understand our business, and that's made all the difference.
Very good, very good. And thank you for the shameless product plug.
It is true,
that wasn't
though.
rehearsed, by the way. So talking about systems and standing up systems, you know, regardless of where you are within the policy life cycle, users and decision makers are always faced with the option of build, buy, or lease. Can you walk us through how you examine those three options and what you think?
Sure. So for Waypoint Mutual, we don't really shy away from building our own option if there's not something in the marketplace that fits the majority of our needs. We've kind of moved away from 100% every box checked, right? So when it came to a portal, we spent some time investigating, like, could we do this? What's the lift? At the same time we were doing that, we were also looking what's in the market space. Alex was kind enough to give me a recommendation to the good folks of Crosstie. And we quickly saw that was the best option for us. Putting in the time and energy to build from the ground up and then keep it alive and meaningful and enhanced was just something that we did not have the internal manpower to do. And I did not care to dedicate the resources for the years and decades to come when we could buy a product that was already ready to go and focus on adoption for our adjusters and then give them some enhancement recommendations.
And so, Emily, from your vantage point, just looking ahead, where do you see portals evolving?
Yeah, I mean, kind of like what I said before, I see them as another facet in the process. but it can take a lot of the load that people don't want to be doing. And so I think the claims process, like the role of the adjuster is likely going to change. It's not going to be replaced, but instead they'll be focusing on those high impact, critical decision making, and to the top of their inbox will be those time sensitive items. But I do think overall the experience is going to be better. I think the satisfaction is going to be better, and I think that I think I'm an AI optimist. Like I think it'll just make us happier, but we'll see. But really doing the things that we want to be doing more, and getting that augmentation of AI to help supplement the parts that we don't want to do. But I do think that it will take an adoption curve for people to get more familiar with it. And so in the meantime, making sure that you have a preference-based experience. So if people want to call, they can call. If they want to text, they can text. If they want to self-service, they can do that, while we kind of go through this transitionary period.
Yeah, it sounds like it's really about meeting them where they are, right?
Exactly.
In the process. I think that's actually a good segue in kind of our next section. And you guys have already kind of alluded to it, but want to ground this back to a real world example. We had the opportunity to implement Crosstie with Waypoint, their injured worker portal. And so I think it'd be interesting to kind of dive a little bit deeper and to get a little more of your perspective, Beth and Emily, on that product and on that journey. So I was curious, Beth, like when you started that journey looking for a claimant portal, were there specific problems you were trying to solve?
We had adopted a few years prior this texting platform. That's all it did, is it allowed our adjusters to log into this stagnant software where they could then text with an injured worker. And we knew that that was the future. Being in the blue-collar workforce, our injured workers can't step away from the job site. Sometimes it's not even safe to try to answer their phone. We don't want to create more claims. So that was kind of the prompt for us, because while the adjusters gave feedback that they saw value in it, it was just too cumbersome to try to use. And then there was this entire different lift about getting that text information into the claim file. And by that point, people are just tired. So I had also been reading a lot, hearing a lot about portals for injured workers. And I was like, gosh, I feel like there's more out there. So we did the whole, should we build it? No. And released it. But it was really about making things fast and real time. And I really think that for an injured worker, that fulfills a satisfaction need for them. They get to watch TV commercials all day about how they've been mistreated. So if you can engage with them on a platform that they're used to engaging on, whether it be a video call, texting, or delivering them information, they're much happier to do it because it doesn't feel weird or out of bounds for them.
That's good stuff. Yeah. So what would you say then was like the biggest impact? Was there anything that surprised you as part of this process?
How much content we could deliver out and how quickly we could get it back. So that's kind of the big hurdle in the claims arena, is that there is a huge lag time in getting information back or in from third parties that you need. And this is all really happening real time for us.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine that feature of a big part of the process of a comp claim is understanding past medical, right? So the first thing you're doing is you're trying to get that medical release. You want to get an understanding of their history. In the old days, you were mailing it, and if you're lucky, you got it back in a couple of weeks, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Most mail injured workers receive, they think is spam, so they just throw it away, like from the mailbox to the trash can. Did you get that form? I don't think so. Okay, let's try again. But now we just say, you're gonna notice that you got a text on your phone, open that portal, go ahead and sign that. Oh, look at that. 5 minutes later, I'm requesting 10 years worth of records.
Well, too, and you alluded to the content. I think also there's kind of been a shift, I think, in the last decade where it's about, putting more emphasis on the injured worker as a person, right? When I started in this industry, very adversarial, right? And so I think, we've kind of come to the realization that even though a doctor is going to give a release to return to work, the injured worker makes that decision, right? And so if you can empower them with information, at the time they need it, that can go a long way towards getting them back to work, which is going to reduce cost, right?
Yeah, we really think information is powerful. So explaining things to people before they need the information, if they've broken a bone, if they've required a major surgery, we put out there, like, you may be entitled to a settlement. We don't need to keep this a secret. It's going to keep you out of an attorney's office. So the portal really allows us to deliver that information to them timely, where they don't go to an attorney's doorstep, or they don't trust Uncle Bob with his situation from a decade ago.
So Emily, I'd like to shift to you. I assume there were some key principles that as you guys went in to develop this product, there were problems in the industry that you're looking to solve, right?
Yep.
Enough said.
I would say, so, I mean, our company was, basically the idea of our company was built on a 2016 benchmarking study that said psychosocial barriers are the #1 issue for claims having negative outcomes. And I think what's hard about portals is when we're, talking to someone about the benefits, it's hard to quantify it as much because there's so many different pieces. And so, like, from our perspective, portals, to Beth's point, it helps them feel more confident going into the process. They understand what's going on. They know where to go if they have an issue. But the alternative, what we're mostly competing with, is just the workarounds, the paper mail, the phone calls. And, adjuster can talk on the phone with someone and say, they seemed fine, but someone could seem really nice on the phone and they're actually upset. They just, they're not the type of person to show that or say that. And so then they'll just secretly go and get an attorney. And there's a lot of times where a claim, goes litigated and people don't know why. And I think it's just, again, another facet to uncover that. And it's just hard to quantify that and see the results. It's kind of, I feel like portals generate lagging indicators where over time you'll see, they are, more satisfied, so we're getting less litigation, or, there's, we're getting information back faster so they can, go to their appointment sooner. But basically the problems we're trying to solve is how can we just make the process as simple as possible? How, like, in a perfect world, a claim doesn't go south because of delays or because someone's confused. It's because, the injury actually took that long, or the problem actually required that amount of, payment. And so how can we make it where it's not the process causing any of those delays or issues or increased expenses? It's really, we're trying to maximize or minimize, any of those alternative factors impacting the claim. And I do think claim portals, they don't seem as snazzy as AI solutions, but it is a tool and solution that can really help down the line. And it's hard to see that up front. And again, to the point, if you're not integrated, people immediately think, this is just overwhelming. It's extra work. It's something I have to deal with. But I think people overcomplicate it quite a bit. And if you're integrated, and if you, if you have your workflows already set up, you can implement in less than a month and be able to see the benefits of it.
Yeah, I know that the texting feature's been mentioned, that, documents and so forth, but I think another important part of what your offering has is this survey action where you're kind of checking in on the injured worker. And so you kind of get this temperature check periodically. And I know we've have some workflows kind of behind the scenes that can kick off things to bring that to someone's attention. And so it's more real time. You can react to that and, head that off before they're upset about something and go seek counsel, right? So
yeah, we've done research which shows people feel more comfortable sharing their concerns in some sort of portal or to technology versus to a person. Yeah. And you're not going to tell your adjuster that you don't like them.
Right.
And so having another way for them to share that.
Never know.
Yeah.
Well, I think you kind of touched on this. I'm not sure if you want to expand a little bit more, but Are there things that you've learned kind of on the implementation side where, carriers maybe either underestimate the complexity or they overcomplicate the process?
Yeah. Never. I would say
feel guilty
mostly
immediately.
people overcomplicate it. I think it's, again, when they think of all the different pieces, they're like, oh, this is going to be a year long and it's going to add work. And, but ultimately, like, again, if it's integrated, which, we can pull in partners to help us integrate, which is how we use ReSource Pro. But if it's integrated, it is just a seamless process. And now just the document shows up within a day versus having to wait for snail mail back and forth. Right. And so in general, I think people overcomplicate it and get overwhelmed when it is really simple. And again, if something happens, it can just be filed back to the claim note automatically. You don't have to get fancy with it. You don't necessarily need AI or complex solutions to do some of these tasks, just to share this information back with the claimant or policyholder.
We were definitely trying to overcomplicate it. I thought we were looking at like a 26 to 32 week window. And I did dedicate a lot of that time to adjuster adoption. Adjusters as a whole I love every one of my adjusters so very much, but adjusters as a whole in the industry are not really known as early adopters of change, any change. So I thought that would be the biggest hurdle that we faced was I gave you this great gift. Why don't you love the gift I gave you?
Why aren't you using the gift I gave you, right?
Hey, could you start getting in the gift I gave you? But really with Crosstie's platform of kind of doing that core user group, those early adopters that really become your expert users, that made things so much easier. And I didn't necessarily pick my biggest tech informed adjusters. I use my adjusters that are good campaigners, that are good communicators, that say, wow, like I was able to get on a video call and talk to this injured worker without a translator and the notes are already in the claim. Like that only happened 10 minutes ago. Like, wow. And I was like, look at this magic happening. And then when we actually arrived at our go live date, all the adjusters were just like, finally, like it's finally my turn to use it. And I was like, yeah.
That's a great place to be because internal adoption is tough, right?
It's tough.
And they really need to be the cheerleader to get the injured worker involved too, right?
Yeah.
So they need to be able to sell it to them.
Yeah,
So,
I would say just starting small because again, like there's so many complex solutions out there and new tools that are really great, and I think they'll do great things. But it's funny how like we have a solution where if you type in a message and we call it Tone Buddy, and it just like makes the message sound a little bit nicer, which I think everyone uses ChatGPT and Gemini for it, but still when they see that, their eyes like light up and it just seems so simple. But again, just these little things here and there can really help get people to just get in the new mindset of like how it can actually help them. And then they slowly start buying into the other capabilities that you're providing back to them.
So one quick question, so for Beth and Emily. Beth, I'm curious, if you had to do that journey again, is there anything that you would do differently?
Well, I would have done it sooner.
Oh, okay.
And I would have pressed our core operating system to give me more fields that I could import and export data into. So today we are obtaining data in the portal that I don't have a place to put into our core operating system. So we've created some fields for it, but
yeah, not exactly. Not you. You want a better integration.
Yes.
I guess, right? Yeah. Emily, what about you? What would you? Was there any lessons learned from this implementation?
I mean, I think this integration was actually really great.
Yeah.
But just in general, again, integration, making sure that you can integrate into the existing workflow because people don't want to change their workflow. They don't want to go into another system. And so, again, luckily we could pull in a partner to help because we don't do services. So if our client, doesn't have the IT, we have really flexible integration, but if they have, no integration,
right,
then that's a blocker. And so I think prioritizing, setting up that IT integration is really important. We've had some pilots where, clients where they're like, we'll just start manual, and no one does it.
Yeah. So you can't get any adoption or traction in that mode.
That's probably one of the reasons that we were able to stay on such a tight timeline, is that I did not need my internal resources, which are already split a little thin in spots at times, that we were able to go to ReSource Pro, and they were like, yes, we're familiar with this. We already know your core operating system, and we very much understand this platform. So creating that integration for us kept us on track.
Well, the help too is that what was great is there was good communication down to the level that this is where we're going. And then also there was, as you mentioned, you brought a core group of folks in to help sell it. And that's key, absolute key. We can't do that for you, right? That's something you guys have to do, so.
And just to piggyback on that, there are organizations like APCIA that have compliance charts that help us out a lot.
Wonderful.
Thank you, everyone. I think we
Thank
certainly
you all.
appreciate it.
We gave you a little break, so there's a 10-minute
Yes.
break. You go to the next session. Thank you so much.
Thank you.